For many of us, this Good Friday and Easter weekend and the story that we have come to remember and commemorate has certain images that play out in our mind year after year. The whip, the crown of thorns, the 3 nails and the old rugged cross, a stone rolled away from a tomb. And there is no doubt that these scenes are central to the divine drama that went on.
But on Friday, we asked the question, might we be missing something? I mean, could there be more to this story than we know about? If we were to walk with Jesus through the last week of his life, would we see him sticking to the main streets of these images?
Or would we find him slipping into side streets and back alleys that we've never explored before?
The streets of this story are paved with reality and history and deep theology, but in order to truly discover it, we need to invite your imagination to come out and play.
So a couple days ago, we walked together through the intense and exhausting last week of Jesus' life, and we discovered why we call it the week that changed the world forever.
Yeah, and our journey ended right here in front of Golgotha, Skull Hill, where Jesus was executed.
And I have to say, being here 2,000 years later is a bizarre experience. Not because it's so wonderful to stand where Jesus was crucified, but because people are arguing over where it actually took place.
Yeah, you know, the Protestants have their Skull Hill in their garden where they believe Golgotha was. They give wonderful tours and communion services. Not so far away, the Catholics and the Orthodox have the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and they believe that that's where Christ was crucified and buried, and inside of there are worship wars going on.
For a while, you'll hear the beautiful organ being played in the Catholic part of the regal cathedral. And then not long after that, you will hear what sounds like the banging of a sledgehammer on a 2x8 board of the Greek Orthodox inviting people to their worship.
Yeah, you know, and then there'll be a priest walking through and the smoke of their incense, and it's a special smell. And a few moments later, a priest from another sect will come and they want to anoint the place with their smell. I mean, it's a really amazing sort of worship wars that are going on, but not only in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but also all around this city, between the Protestants, the Catholics, the Orthodox, and the Muslims who believe that Jesus was a good prophet. They don't believe that he actually died on the cross, but rather that there was somebody else who sort of resembled Jesus that was on the cross. But for us, we're not so concerned where it happened, much more that it happened and why it happened.
Without getting into the techniques of Roman crucifixion or the GPS location of where the crucifixion happened, what we do know is that it was a horrific, heinous, and extremely painful death. Here's how Luke describes it. 2 others, both criminals, were led out to be executed with Jesus. When they came to a place called the Skull, they nailed him to the cross, and the criminals were also crucified, one on his right and one on his left. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing." And the soldiers gambled for his clothes by throwing dice. One of the criminals hanging beside him scoffed, "So, you're the Messiah, are you? Prove it by saving yourself and us too while you're at it." But the other criminal protested, "Don't you fear God even when you've been sentenced to die? We deserve to die for our crimes, but this man hasn't done anything wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus replied, "I assure you, today you will be with me in paradise."
So whether Jesus was crucified at the Protestant site of Golgotha or the Catholic or Orthodox site of Golgotha, it really doesn't matter to us. You know, in this city, it's so easy to get distracted and get caught up in all the religious tension. What does matter is why he was crucified.
It says this in John 3, verse 16. "For God loved the world so much that he gave his one and only Son, so that everyone who believes in him will not perish, but have eternal life."
You know, God's love isn't primarily theological or theoretical or hypothetical or supernatural. God's love is brave and bold and courageous. And 2,000 years ago, for 6 hours, God's love hung on a cross on display for us.
And God's message to us is this: I'd give everything for you. And on a cruel Roman cross, somewhere outside of this city, I did.